Hello, I'm Matt Wilkinson and I'm looking for spiders at Cambridge BioBlitz 2020. Really fascinating group of invertebrates. They are very important as invertebrate predators, particularly interesting from my point of view because of the way they use silk, which has changed enormously over the last few 100 million years. And the great thing about the spiders that we've got today is that they kind of illustrate all these various different steps of the evolution of silk, of the evolution of their web design, and we can kind of see a lot of them just here. The sort of web that most people will be familiar with spiders would be the orb web. There's one here, which is your classic geometric patterned orb web. Even this is actually quite an advanced sort of web. This is made by something called an Agalenid spider. They use 7 different kinds of silk. Not all of them to build the web. They use one to wrap their prey, they use one to make their egg cases, one to insulate their egg cases. But even in this one, you've got the non-sticky silk, which is the stuff that's making the frame. And this is the stuff that's often claimed to be weight for weight as strong as steel. That's not quite true, but it's about half as strong as steel. It's pretty good. And then you've got the capture spiral in the middle, and that's the stuff that's sticky. Now the glue itself is actually a different sort of silk. And the material properties of this silk is all very different, so that they really don't want the silk to be too springy in the capture spiral, because if that's the case, insect flies into it, then just gets pinged straight back off again. And if you look up here, again, very common sort of web. You'll see this often in crevices in the walls and things. If you look at a kind of old brick wall, it'll probably be covered in this sort of thing. You might notice a slight blue tinge. Now this is called Cribulate Silk. It's not sticky, as in it's not got glue on it, but it works like Velcro. So it has a kind of woolly structure to it, which is very labour intensive to produce. So they spin the silk out and then have to comb it intensively to give it that kind of woolliness. And it's that woolliness that gives it that blue tinge. Lace web spiders make this sort of stuff. Then we have this other quite sort of dusky sheet web. These are made by a group called the Agalenid Spiders. These include the ones that most people are really scared of, so the big house spiders that are pretty, this time of year you'll often see them scampering around inside your home. This web isn't sticky at all, so there's no Velcro, there's no nothing. They're just hoping that stuff's going to get entangled as it kind of as it's moving across it. Now this web here, which looks a little bit like that one, a bit more of an open look to it, I guess. That's the web of an infamous false widow spider, which of course has hit the headlines a lot lately. They don't deserve their terrifying reputation by any means. Yes, they can bite you. It's usually just like a wasp sting or a bee sting. Unless you have an allergic reaction to it, there's really nothing to worry about. But there are wonderful things. They are spread quite a lot lately. They are an introduced species, so you'll see them more on the continent. They are benefiting from climate change. As the weather gets warmer, their range is spreading north. You might have been wondering what I'm doing carrying this thing. It's an electric toothbrush, vital equipment for any arachnologist. That's because the most important sense for spiders is their sense of touch. And the web, at least for those of them that use webs, the web becomes an extension of their senses. It's kind of almost like a satellite dish to pick up anything that hits it. And of course what they're really kind of feeling out for is for a flying insect, a fly or a wasp or something, which has blundered into their web, which of course is going to be buzzing its wings and vibrating the strands of silk. And you can replicate that, I mean, classically using a tuning fork. These days we have the modern version of that, which is the electric toothbrush. See if we can entice this one out. Oh my goodness, yes. It's a big one.
Where?
It's underneath, do you see? Yeah.
Oh yeah, there she comes. Got her.
And yeah, so it's a she. The reason I can tell is if you look at the front of a spider, they have these 2 little feelers, which they're called palps. And in the boys, in the males, they're expanded at their tips. They use these things in mating. The females, they don't have those expanded tips, which means it's actually quite easy to see whether a spider is male or female. You can often tell from quite a distance. So one good way of getting spiders is using the sweep net. Spiders are actually particularly good, particularly easy to catch using a sweep net, because their typical defence strategy, if they get disturbed, is to drop. And that's what we're doing. So by sweeping the net through the vegetation, we're disturbing, and the idea is that the spiders then just sort of drop into the net. So let's see what we can. That is quite a young nursery web spider, which are, among very many interesting spiders we have, possibly one of the most interesting. The reason it's called a nursery web spider is because the female will make a little egg sac and then build this dome-shaped web over the top of it, which she will then guard until the little spiderlings are ready to hatch. So this will have been one of this year's broods. So that's they get probably about twice as big as this, and yes, so they'll be making their own webs next year.